My husband and I are expecting. This is our first baby and we're excited. The thing is, he barely attends any doctor appointments with me and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor appointment over soccer or a drink or board game with his friends. His response is always, I'm not the one carrying the baby, why do I have to go see the doctor with you? Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me for the baby's gender reveal appointment, but he chose to not come last minute because his friend invited him to a fish and chips meal. I was pretty livid, but didn't make a fuss about it. Mom went with me instead. He texted me asking the results, if it was a boy or girl, but I refused to tell him. He kept spam calling me, but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanding I tell him the results, but I refused and bluntly told him since he refused to attend the appointment, then he gets no results till after the baby is born, and said I was willing to die on this hill. He said he's the father and has the right to know. He then called me dramatic since I wasn't alone and my mom was with me. I said he gets no results, period.
My boyfriend tricked me into having sex with his twin brother. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's on my Instagram. My boyfriend is the most obnoxious man I've ever met. We started dating 3 months ago. When I met him, I really wasn't into him at all. I met him through friends, and when we would all hang out, he was always the loudest one. He was always making the most inappropriate jokes and was always seeking attention from everyone else. I'm the complete opposite. I like to listen to people speak. I never raise my voice and I don't try to be obnoxiously loud. So I thought he was the biggest piece of shit when I met him. I couldn't relate at all to him. Then he came up to me at a party and started talking to me. That's when I found out that we had a lot of things in common. One of the things that we kept talking about was role playing. I'm into role playing, but I like to keep it safe. Whereas he likes to do some crazy stuff. He's into things like rape fantasies. I told him I was not interested in that, but we kept seeing each other through friends. Finally, after about a month, he asked me out on a date and I said yes. At this point, I knew that he was loud and obnoxious, but he was funny and made me laugh all the time. And I love a guy that can make me laugh. On our first date, he sent his twin brother as a joke. I thought it was hilarious that I confused them. Part 2. My boyfriend tricked me into having sex with his twin brother. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. That's when he made his twin brother go to our first date as a joke. Obviously, I didn't even know he was a twin. So when this guy shows up to the restaurant, I'm like, oh hey. 15 minutes into the date, he starts laughing maniacally. That's when my real date comes out of the bathroom, and they both start pointing and laughing at me. That's when I understood what was going on. My real date sent his twin brother. Here's the thing, they look exactly the same. They even have the same moles in the same places, same exact haircut, and they even have the same tattoo on their necks. And they're both really hot. Their bodies are sculpted to a T, and their faces look like Greek gods. Finally, his brother left, and it was just me and my date. We hit it off and had a great time. Everything was really rushed though. A week later, he asked me to be his girlfriend and I didn't know what to say. He begged me for about 3 days. When I finally said yes, I told him that it was on a trial basis. That's when odd things started happening. He once again started sending his brother on dates with me. After I'd get home from a date, he would text me to say, how's my brother? I kept falling for it. Part 3 is my boyfriend tricked me into having sex with his twin brother. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's sent to me on Instagram. I finally asked my boyfriend to stop sending his brother on dates with me. He said that it was just too funny and that they both thought it was hilarious. So I asked him if he was getting off on the idea of me and his brother together. Then he said, why? Would you like that? And I said, of course not. I like you, not your brother. Then he said, but we're exactly the same. Then he says, what if you already did it with my brother and you just don't know it? It actually took me a minute to think about it. I mean, how could I know? They both look exactly the same. At this point, I had given my boyfriend a key to my apartment. Big mistake. Later on that night, I'm dead asleep in bed. I hear my door open and I see that it's my boyfriend. Or at least who I thought was my boyfriend. He climbs into my bed and we have sex. I'm half asleep, but I was still open to it. The next morning, he's gone. I call my boyfriend and ask him why he left. Then he says, what are you talking about? I was never in your apartment. I literally could have shat my bed. Then he said, you actually fell for it? That wasn't me, that was my brother. That's when he asked me if I would be open to a relationship with the two of them. Apparently, his brother is obsessed with me. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for moving my son into a rental apartment after finding out his dad's been canceling his job applications? So my son, Aiden, 23, moved back in with us upon graduating college as my husband wanted. My husband's original plan was to have Aiden live with us for free but stay home and help with his disabled younger brother, 16. Aiden started complaining about needing some money and wanted to find a job. My husband was against this and even offered to double his allowance, but Aiden was growing tired of staying home. So he began looking for jobs here and there for over a year, but no applications came through. We were confused until recently when I found out my husband was behind this. Am I the asshole for moving my son into a rental apartment after finding out his dad's been canceling his job applications? He'd wait till Aiden applied to jobs, then proceeded to cancel the applications by impersonating him and using his email. I blew up at him, but his justification is that he's just trying to make sure our younger son is cared for. So I went ahead and rented an apartment for Aiden and told him to stay there till he finds a job and starts paying for it himself. Aiden was hurt about what his dad did, and my husband was livid when he found out. He called me unhinged and said I was separating the boys and teaching Aiden to become selfish. But going behind your son's back and impersonating him is okay. Would I be the asshole if I didn't let my husband attend the baby shower or birth of our child? We're definitely gonna need to know why. So my husband, 29, and I, 28, have a daughter, Sky, who's 3 years old. And he was happy when I told him she was a girl. We're having another baby, and when I had my ultrasound, I was told it was another girl. So I told my husband again, and he was happy. Well, turns out I was wrong, and it's actually a boy we're having. And when I told my husband, he freaked out in excitement. And his reaction to us having a boy was nothing like either of his reactions to having a girl. He was literally jumping around and yelling. Would I be the asshole if I didn't let my husband attend the baby shower or birth of our child? His reaction to having a boy was nothing like either of his reactions to having a girl. I mean, he was actually jumping around, yelling, and he immediately called all of his friends and family. She also kept hugging and swinging our daughter around, letting her know she's getting a brother. So I confronted him about not being this excited about girls, and he said, "'Cause I wanted a boy." I got so pissed off, and I don't want him at the baby shower. Whoa, or the birth. He thought I was kidding at first until he realized I was serious and got really upset. So would I be wrong? Am I the asshole for driving off after my girlfriend insisted I open the car door for her and causing her to miss a friend's wedding? My girlfriend and I were invited to a friend's wedding this past week, and I was in the car waiting while she was getting ready. She took forever to get her makeup and hair done, and she came and stood by the passenger door and stared at me. I asked what was wrong, and she said nothing. "I'm just waiting for you to open the door for me." And I was like, huh? Why? I assume both of your arms are working, right? She said something about seeing a trend on TikTok with guys opening the door for their girlfriends, to which I replied with, "That's ridiculous." Of course, she got upset. Am I the asshole for driving off after my girlfriend insisted I open the car door for her and causing her to miss a friend's wedding? She said she saw a trend on TikTok where guys were opening the door for their girlfriends, to which I replied, "That's ridiculous." She got upset and said it's a gesture that means I respect her, and on and on. I told her to get in the car and not make us more late than we already are. She refused, and I told her I'd ride off and leave her behind, but she said she wouldn't get in until I opened the door. I ended up just driving off and leaving her behind and going to the wedding alone. Wow. She called and texted and called me awful. Am I the asshole for prioritizing my son's dog over my wife's pregnancy? When my son, 14, was 8, we got a dog. He's half Great Dane and half some dog my friend's dog met during an unauthorized absence. My son loves this dog and does everything to care for him and is a very responsible dog owner. The dog is pretty much his best friend. My wife is 12 weeks pregnant, and ever since we confirmed the pregnancy, she's been acting really weird against the dog. She avoids him, puts her hand over her stomach when he's around, and jolts whenever he makes noises. Today she told me she wants to rehome the dog, and I asked what she was talking about. She said she's been having anxiety that he'll jump. Am I the asshole for prioritizing my son's dog over my wife's pregnancy? She said there's no way to know for sure that the dog won't jump on her, and if he does, our baby could be hurt. This dog has never even so much as growled at her. She even said if the dog doesn't jump on her, her anxiety is bad for her health. She said she needs the dog elsewhere for her safety and the baby's. I said there's just no way. My son got this dog right after he lost his mom and imprinted on him hard. At times I think he loves the dog even more than me, and I'm not taking his dog. My wife said I'm prioritizing the dog over her pregnancy, but he's not a threat to her pregnancy. I just think it's a really unreasonable request. Am I wrong?